Hi, everyone. I'm just tracking the movements of the past and the movements of the future. And it's interesting that I looked at what we'd say when Hitler was around, the 1940s or the 1930s, when Isaac Watts was a guy that founder of IBM. And it said when he got into the dark underworld that he started to know the computer because Satan gave him that information that he needed. And he used the information well. He used it to trap the Jews. He gave that to Hitler. But the interesting thing is that before he died, he gave his technology to a particular person. Now, that particular person was the mother of Bill Gates. And the mother of Bill Gates, she was married to Bill Gates Sr. Bill Gates Sr. controlled Planned Parenthood. He was a big lawyer at Planned Parenthood. And anybody that knows about Planned Parenthood is something wherein it's eugenics. But the eugenics really that they were practices on blacks. You know, in the United States of America, it says that more black babies die for abortion than what's born. And that eugenics program, before Hitler did that on the Jews, he did that in Africa, I think it was in Namibia. He went down and slaughtered a whole heap of black people. The Jews was just collateral damage, really, because really everybody hates the blacks. But anyway, the subject that I really want to get into is not so much Hitler and what he was doing, because he had his own vaccinating program. He really wanted to vaccinate the whole world and have the Aryan race. Things are no different today. Most people think things are changing, but they're not changing. You look at the football. England was so wonderful, man. You had these black players, just like in France, you got the black players were playing. But soon, as the game went bad, it went south. What did you hear? You nigger. You coon. We're used to it, man. You know, us guys in our 50s, 60s, 70s, we've been getting it from morning. We understand the program. And we understand the racism. We know it's never going to go, even though our younger generation believe that. Just like the eugenics program's never going to go. It just gets better and get better and get better. Well, our subject really, as we touch this subject, is really the merchantman of Revelation 18. Now, I thought that the 10 kings would have really come before the merchantman of Revelation 18. Now, within the church setting, all the ministers really know who the merchantman of Revelation 18 is. And those who used to study, even haven't studied for a long time, they can work out who the merchantmen are. And it's quite easy. You know, let's just track back to the Battle of Waterloo. And it says, whoever controls the finances, they control the political power. And you know for a fact that the Rothschild, they're the banking family, they're one of the banking dynasties. They decided who was going to win the World War, and we know that the Red Cross, they crossed over every border. They were the intelligence that were going back to the Rothschild banking family. That's why no one ever murdered the Red Cross, right? Because just like the UN peacekeepers, same thing, but most people are not tracking it. Just like the CDC, yeah, no one ain't tracking that. It's the same organization that did the Tuskegee experiment on the blacks in the United States of America. But, you know, the ministers know this, but they ain't going to tell you because they took the shekels. And when they took the shekels, they took the shackles on the charity status. I'm sorry to jump around. I'm really sorry to jump around. But the church has been sold. You know, when the sodomite factories started to come out and they get into the schools and everything like that, yeah. Why do you think the churches never said nothing? The government paid them off. And the government is run by big corporations. Now, let's look at BlackRock and Vanguard. Some of you may never heard of it. It's the first time you're hearing of it. BlackRock and Vanguard are two corporations, international corporations that buy companies. Like, for instance, Pepsi, Coca-Cola. They're not competing. IBM and Apple, Microsoft, they're not competing. These guys own all those corporations. You know, they're the biggest shareholders. Now, if we track back to, let's say, back to the Battle of Waterloo, we know how the Rothschild family made their money. And no doubt they were part of the slave trade. You know, maybe they were the insurance companies. I'm not going to really get into it right now. Then we have the Rockefellers. The Rockefellers are the fathers of the pharmaceutical. And anybody that understands the pharmaceutical world, go to Revelation 18. It said the merchantmen practice sorcery. And you just need to go into your Bible, find out what sorcery is. You know, it says witchcraft. But really, when you check it, it's a word called pharmakita. I may spell it wrong, I'm a bit dyslexic. But pharmakita is really the big corporations, the vaccine companies. Now, these vaccine companies, that are going around the world, all you have to do is go back to a particular time in history. And the date is 1989. 1989 is gonna, in a lot of what I'm going to be speaking about over the time period. I'm on this little, you know, I bought this thing about a year ago now. You know, I went to shop and I bought another little one that you click on your neck, and I thought, let me try it out. And today's the day I try it out. You know, I set up my first video, and you know, I'm going to be sending out a few more. And when I send these out, 95% of the church are going to say I'm a conspiracy theorist. The church leaders are going to do what they did to me the first time. They're going to write me up. You know, I remember the time when Adventists was changing. You know, Willow Creek, Saddleback were bringing in their whorehouses into the churches. And many church members were going to Sunday churches. But anybody who went to an Adventist meeting, you were warned, brother, if you go back there, I got this fellowship, yo. And me, you know, anybody that knows me, I was a publishing director. I was a literature evangelist, had my trophies, you know, I could go to any platform I could preach, and pastors used to ring me up. But, I got hooked up with this little group, and they didn't like it at the church. They couldn't gainsay on me. But what they did to me now is give me a warning, call me in the office a couple of times, said, these men are bad men, you need not to keep company. But, you know, Jesus kept company with bad men, but not being honest with you, they were right. A lot of these guys were bad men. One of the main guys, man, as a Jamaican would say, I'm a fish. And he was a fish. And, you know, I can't say much about him being a fish. You know, he was into ladyboys. But is that this guy would throw other guys. He was getting away for decades and decades. And just creating isms and schisms with other brothers. You tell a little something and sow a seed there of discord with this brother, just like what Satan did with the consummated craft in heaven. But anyway, let me leave that. Let me leave all that now. Let me jump back to the merchantmen, because the merchantmen are one of the most important subjects for this time, especially since we see the pandemic, which is really a plandemic, a scandemic. Now, because the ministers are telling you, trust the science. Lucifer in heaven were telling the same angels, trust the science. And he used consummated craft. And you know, you go to people hypnotized, they say what they do, they get you into a state of aura, waiting, you know, in anxiety. And the lockdowns were about that. The guys that produce lockdown, you can believe what you want. You can say I'm a conspiracy theorist. I don't care. But this, I can tell you this now straight, that science of Lucifer, what happened up in the third heavens, where he had to be expelled. This same science, the merchantmen understand that science. Just as Isaac Watts was given the technology, Satan has given his followers the science, how to move the minds of the masses. And the church leaders are moving the minds of the masses. Even within our church, Adventism. You know, when you read up on, you know, the WikiLeaks of Adventism, I think it's Andy Ruddock. You know, you read up on his site now, yeah, and he ain't knocking Adventism. He just telling you as it is. He's just telling you as it is. And he's just telling you straight about the transgender operation, the abortions. And they tell you, oh, well, the abortions, they were for the women that got raped. How many women got raped? No, it was for the blacks. It was for the blacks. And then the blacks were sterilized also. Because throughout the world, this system of the eugenics has been going on. And the hatred of the seeds that Satan's planting, especially in Europeans. You know, you wouldn't believe in some of the divisions and some of the unions, yeah, the racism that goes on. The pastor ain't going to tell you. He's interested in his pension and furlough. Sorry to say. He's interested in these pensions and furlough. You know, he gets the free money, then he gets a double holiday, everything is good, but he ain't telling you that the plainer juror is coming. And he ain't going to tell you what happens at the TD, how much money the TD gets, the Black Jesus money. And they ain't going to give you none of that Black Jesus money because, you know, you look in England now, yeah, they don't care about that school, John Loughborough and all these different things. The teachers, some of the teachers, they only pay them £500 a month. Pastor got his big 40 or 50,000 plus his expenses or whatever he was getting, plus his pension. And I'm saying it as it is because I was a worker. I worked at the conference and I worked at Stamford Press. A lot of you know me, and obviously I'm on the blacklist. You know, I'm this radical guy. But you can believe what you want to believe about me. But I'm going to tell you this, yeah. The merchantmen of Revelation 18 are the men who control the vaccination program. Henry Kissinger, you know, he was, by the United States, was given a mandate to study how to depopulate the world. And as you know, America supports Planned Parenthood because no stigma comes to them. And they hated the blacks more than anybody else. Even Adventism, you know, they're polished up, just like the football now, you know. Everybody's getting on good. But as soon as the game was lost in England, you saw the racists come out. Nignog. Coon. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that really because I'm meant to be PC. There's certain words, you know, I need to be like the, you know, a good Seventh-day Adventist. And, you know, not say these words a bit hard because, you know, I'll be on the ban list. But the racism is always going to be there. The younger people think they're not getting no better, things are getting worse. Right, the merchantmen, their plans are coming to tuition. They're definitely coming to tuition. And the merchantmen are the ones that control the vaccines, the sorcery. Now, let's just track back a little. IG Farthing was a company that made the gas for the Jews. Now, the Jews thought they were going to take a shower. But they gassed them. A lot of the fool blacks that are taking the vaccine, that where pastor tells them that Jesus would do it. Well, Jesus didn't even take the vinegar. Jesus didn't even take the vinegar. But, you know, you wouldn't give your money, right, to some fool. Oh, well, some people do. They put in some stocks and shares. And my friend, he's lost about $500,000. You know, he lost 250,000. He went and remortgaged up the house. His dad had given him $1 million before, and he had put more shares. And I told him, brother, I want to put my money in that, man. And obviously, it was the batteries. And he thought that, listen, man, lithium ion batteries were going to go somewhere. Crashed. He lost so much money. A lot of you are going to lose your lives because you're taking a trial drug. It's not even a trial drug. In the 90s, if you did your homework, but you're so lazy, they said one thing about the black man, put in a book, he won't read it. But it seems to be a true rhetoric because in the 90s, They had already had this MRI vaccine, which was gene therapy, that they actually tried on ferrets. And those very ferrets, all of them died when the natural COVID comes. And a lot of you are going to die that took the vaccine. A lot of you are going to be like those in the time when the plagues break out. You're going to ask Pastor, did he know? And Pastor's going to tell you, yeah, he knew. So I'm going to share this with you before you shut me down and you throw your stuff at me and you text me and you say, you know, this guy at there, Ryan Gate, you know, this platform is just a bogus platform. This guy don't know what he's talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I've been around for a long time. I'm climbing the ladder. A few years I've been in my 60s. You can see I haven't shaved, you know. I'm climbing the ladder. I'm climbing up there. And I've been around. I've worked at conferences, as I said before, right? And I understand leadership very well. I understand meetings. They're all voted beforehand, just like the world. You know, so I've got friends, they go into the BEC to argue, or this SEC. I don't bother. I already know that if God wants to stop it, God will stop it. Yeah, pray. Definitely. But I don't need to go and argue my case. Because I know already that, listen, man, them guys are going to put it through. And if it don't get put through, just like the women ordination, it was voted down every time. And what happened every time? Every time they put the vote back up again until they get what they more or less want. And if they don't get what they want, just like the Trans-European Division, you just bring in a bunch of the women pastors. The church doesn't understand that. Listen, the world church voted it down. And everybody's happy. The women are happy doing the pastor work, even though it isn't sanctioned. And the church says nothing, especially in Europe. And especially the Trans-European Division, they're racist. They hate blacks. And the evidence out there, you know, I asked one of the leaders one day, you know, what about this thing with the money? And, well, we apologized. No different, you know, they gave the Jews the money. But when the blacks ask about the reparations, they say, and a lot of black people are on the tip, well, what we should get reparation for? That thing that they pass. But they don't understand that Ezekiel says the wheels within the wheels, the complicated movements of the past, those very complicated movements are the very movements of the past. And I'll be talking on these things in a biblical sense, where the same thing that happened with Hitler, with Isaac Watts, is happening again. This is another wheel within a wheel. These movements of the past, and only God's hand is guiding it and keeping his church. So anyway, let's hit the subject quickly for the next 5 minutes quickly. The merchantmen are the Rothschild banking family. The father of Farmer Kida is the Rothschilds, not the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers. And they're the ones with the roadmap, the very roadmap that we're following, the lockdowns. And obviously they took it to Yale or Princeton, whatever. They got people to study out what's the best way to get the people to follow their rhetoric, to follow these roadmaps. And obviously, just like the guy that hypnotizes people, or, you know, you go to the Pentecostal plate and they hype you up, and then they're touching you, you drop. You know, they know the science, and that science works. It's a science that was in the third heaven, which Lucifer created. And obviously Lucifer became the devil, and he became Satan. And he is the one that's moving the merchantmen. They're moving first. The 10 kings, they're in the background. And who are the 10 kings? The United Nations. They got their worship room, Pan, and the only religious body that can be in there is the Vatican. And we're going to see that all roads lead to Rome. So the merchantmen, Rockefellers, Rothschilds, the Vanderbilts, the Clintons, the rich families, the Bushes. These are the 5 mob families. Not the Gambinos and the Lucianos. Man, these guys were serious criminals, but these are the criminals of the world that go around doing the eugenics. They got the plans, they got the corporation. They use corporations like BlackRock and Vanguard that by 2028 they'll control 90% of the world. And we can see, you know, the pastor's telling you that the health passport, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You know, Jesus, you know, love your neighbor. Health passport's going to lead you to the plane of Jura. The health pass is about the freedom, the freedom of movement. And when they get the health passport in there, they're going to lock down many other things. And it's just going to be like China, social credit. You know, people like me, who they call, you know, the church calls me a conspiracy theorist. This guy's bad because, you know, he ain't following the union or the SEC or the NEC. Why should I follow blind guides? Why should I follow blind guides that go to Willow Creek, the clinics, the beauty clinics of Satan, which is the satanic clinics, and come back and bring their doctrines? Then you have men like John Paulson coming out and telling you that Ellen White is this, that, and the other. If you don't follow the spirit of prophecy, trust me, you follow men like Paulson, man, you're in the body bag. That's all I can tell you. You are in the body bag. And I'm telling you, you ain't making it to the Sunday law crisis. You're just going to be one of those, like, I can't remember the false prophet, Hananiah or whatever, that resisted Jeremiah and broke the yoke. And now the metal yoke is those vaccines right now. Those nanoparticles are going through your body. You've received gene therapy, and a lot of you are going to die in the next 3 to 5 years. And get your lives right. Because even though you've taken it and you didn't know, right, don't think you're not going to face the consequences. Right? You're going to face the consequences. Whatever you put in your body, and it's the temple where the Holy Spirit resides. Now, these guys know how to kill you slowly. Blacks don't even understand that. The food that Monsanto brings out, they target the blacks. The technology is there where they know your DNA. I did a DNA test. You know, and I sent before my dad died, I sent his one off. He's my father. And my mum's my mum. I thought, boy, praise the Lord. Anyway, I look like my dad anyway. I look nothing like my mum. But as I said, you need to be careful. Because the pharmaceutical companies are owned by these big corporations. The royal family, they're part of it. They've been around the world. They've enslaved the blacks. I'm sorry to keep saying about the blacks. Oh, let's forget about it. Slavery's coming back. I'm sorry, slavery's coming back. Not the slavery that we see in the Arab countries where they're selling the black man for 2 to a penny. Nah, slavery's coming back. When they control the world, they're going to show you the rip off the face, and you're going to see Satan. You know, even now, the food's in the shops. You know, the British government is buying up the food and getting rid of the food. But you don't know that because you listen to pastor. You listen to men like Ted Wilson. Ted don't care. Ted telling you take the vaccine, and you're so full that you're taking the vaccine. You don't know nothing about this vaccine, and you're telling me trust the science? What, trust Lucifer? God set up the blueprint. The blueprint was the sanitariums. We got rid of all that. When Kellogg's died, we stuffed all that. The pastors were glad. They wanted to yam with everything. They wanted to eat what they wanted to eat. They were so happy. They were so happy that Kellogg's got himself into pantheism, and they could say, we don't want this. We don't want this. And you can see today that even in England, you know, the Europeans controlled the food factories, and you had the West Indians that came across. And trust me, if it wasn't for them, there wouldn't have really been there wouldn't be no money. There wouldn't be those millions that sent up to TED, the Black Jesus money, right? There wouldn't be none to be given to the charity status because they wouldn't be getting no money, right? And they fooled you because they're telling you that you must go to the unchurched, and you're so full. How the hell are you going to win a bunch of people that, even though some of them are not racist, you get some good people, but English people are not interested in the Word of God. You should be building the city walls like Hezekiah right now. And if you're not building the city walls like Hezekiah, Hezekiah was interested in his people. And I'm not telling you not to be interested, sow seeds. But don't be giving out Willow Creek books and these Sunday churches and doing your Sunday sermons on them. They ain't going nowhere. You're going to find out when the fire comes, what is wood and what is stubble. And I'm telling you, the cafe church and all this foolishness and these books you're bringing in and this Jesuit theology, the Jesuits were around under the Third Reich. We're coming to the Fourth Reich. We're coming to that place where what's the guy called now? Yeah. He says that everybody be happy, you'll have nothing. Carl Swaps, another puppet. He ain't the main man. It's those groups, the Merchantmen of Revelation 18, and you can go back, check them. Don't let the pastor fool you because they're on some Pentecostal guys that all of a sudden the merchantmen, they're going to come out from the stars and the moon. God's showing you, go back, get into the early rain. When you get into the early rain, you check out these men, and then you get into third angel's message, and then you see that these are the same men, the same families. When America came here, the scientists here, they only killed a few of the scientists. They took most of the scientists, and they've been creating all that kind of rubbish to kill people. What you think the Americans government is a good government? What, and they're still practicing their Jim Crow? Oh, it's a little bit different, right? You know, they dropped the drugs on the blacks in the United States, in the United States of America, took away the colleges. Check your history. And you think in Europe here it's no different? When we went to school, even if this guy was bright, he could have been a doctor. You know what the careers office told him? Oh, you know, you should get a job in the factory. And you think things have changed? Nothing's changed. You know, I remember the song says, everything must change. The only change coming is when Satan has brought the climate bill. And within that climate bill, it's the hidden hand of the Sunday law. And don't be fooled when these men tell you constantly, there's no Sunday law in the pipeline. And then you got Mark Finney, great speaker. But he worked at the TED. And trust me, he's one of the racists up there too. Great speaker, load of them. You know, as I said earlier, I know a guy who's a fish. Yeah, and I used to go around with him, decade and a half. You know, he was into lady boys. Russell Hogarth Williams, you know, he's a fish. You know, really good, best guy I ever found on the Third Angel's Message. But the man wasn't interested in using his gifts. All he was interested in was defrauding the poor black people of their money, just like what the TED's doing. That you could get an electoral lottery, yam his pork, and drink his alcohol, which anybody can get into it. But the problem with him was that he threw men underneath the bus, men that loved him and people that loved him. He was just one of the wicked. And I pray that he changes because he's got a great lot to offer. And I say this in closing, yeah? All us guys need to get together again. You know, Present Truth was around and it became so-called Present Truth. It died. You had guys like Jeff Piffinger. He was great. Then he got himself tied up with Manjit. Not Manjit, well, his brother, Paminda Bryant. And funny enough, you know, if Jeff ever realizes that when Paminda was talking about 2014 and Jeff said he would be involved, I thought personally that Paminda had changed his stance. And I told the boys, because we had a little unit that we used to do, that, man, we need to get him back on board, man. Men do things, but we can't put them out. But I was a fool. Got back on the platform and trust me, he headed straight for Jeff and he broke his neck. Jeff started talking about all kinds of foolishness. I emailed him when he said that such and such was going to happen and Islam would drop a bomb. I thought, man, that guy lost the plot. There were some black Americans. They were great, young black Americans. They were feeding the line. You had other men. Steve Lewis. He may not really have been in the prophetic. He was really into Moses Mason. Mason was a nice guy. I don't believe in his doctrine and his positions, but he was a nice guy. You got Walter Veit. Walter Veit, some of his positions, you know, I don't agree with him, but great speaker. He's the test of time, he's still going strong. You got the Forerunner, Christopher Hudson, great guy, still doing his thing out there. You got some other guys in America as well. Their names don't come to me right now. I remember one of them. He's good speaker. He's talking about 1929, that the papacy, it's the revival of the papacy, but, you know, I can demonstrate that it's not the revival of the papacy. There's a particular time, the same time the merchantmen were receiving their full autonomy to vaccinate people in 1989, Daniel 11 was saying that the papacy was going to return. And the papacy returned with the chariots and ships and horsemen, which was United States of America with the chariots and ships and horsemen. Rome had 50,000 priests on the borders waiting, and she entered and passed over those countries, those former countries. So I'm saying to you, there's a lot to learn and there's a lot to unlearn. I'm saying to the guys out there, let's not argue over the glorious land, the one is, and all these foolish arguments. We need to deal with the issue of the merchantmen and to show the church members, right, the children of God, that the merchantmen are who they really are. And them getting vaccinated and follow these fool pastors, yeah? And the worst ones are the black pastors because they keep quiet, as usual. Just like, they're no different from the nurse at Tuskegee that was injecting the people. And it says, when good men keep quiet, they make evil prosper. And I'm saying, the pastors, you're going to have a lot on your plate because the third angel's message is moving. The third angel's message ain't about dates and numbers sent in 1989. No, it's about the love, the unconditional love, that when we face Jesus and we see him in the mirror, the change that takes place, and that heaven and earth becomes one. Now, guys, around the world, let's put down our weapons that we're using against one another. We need to put our weapons down. We need to stop arguing among ourselves. So what if you believe the 144,000 is literal or spiritual? Sister White says that we'll find it out in heaven. What are we worrying about that? Okay, the topic of the glorious land, is the glorious land United States of America? Or is the glorious land the church? These arguments, man, we can deal with them another day, but let's deal with the merchantmen. The 10 Kings of Revelation 17, the UN is soon to put a march on us. We're soon to be in the prison house. We need to be telling the people, leave the cities. The ministers are not telling them that, what's coming. You know what's coming. You need to tell the members not to run, but strategically plan to leave the cities. Don't just jump up and leave your job. Don't be stupid. Don't run 200 miles and go to Wales. You're a fool. 20, 30 miles. Then you move again. Those who are in council properties, put your name on the list of house swap. Put your name in the house swap. Get out of Dodge. Right, the gunslingers are here. The OK Corral's going down. And I'm saying to you, put your name in the council list. Pray to the Lord. See if the Lord can't get you out. You don't want to get in private rent. Private rent, oh my gosh, private rent. Don't get in council rent, get bad. Those of you who own your own houses, start thinking where you're going to move. Don't move to the sea. Move to places where you know you got good access. There's loads of people. I didn't want to go Kent. I didn't want to back up against the sea. As nice as Kent and all these places, I thought, nah, man, there's nowhere to go. And the transport system was terrible. I moved straight central where M25, M1, all these different motorways I can just connect to there. And there's A roads. And anybody that saw that program on the BBC where they wanted you to hide from the government for, and they give you 50 grand. You saw, they wanted to know how to catch the people, these little routes. And I'm saying to you, get out of the cities. The Son of the Lord is coming. Yeah, they tell you I'm an alarmist, and I don't really care. I don't have any friends. My friends burnt me. For some homosexual that was defrauding the church. They loved him more than the truth. When I pull out the paperwork, they say, oh, you're so wicked, you expose up for me, brethren. They love the fish. The one that loved the lady boys, and we're not talking about his habits. They just loved him because he was good on the third angel. He was great. They started to worship him. I ain't worshiping no man. Everybody got their gift. I got my gift. Mine is publishing. I can speak. I'm not really a preacher, but God gave me a gift to preach, but I ain't preaching so long. I don't even know if I can still preach. But I know that I'm going to be putting some materials out, and they're going to be heavy. 95% of you that touch what I'm saying, you hate me. I've heard church members say, oh, we shouldn't talk about these things. We shouldn't let no one know about the racism that's going on at the TD and that the whites want back the BUC. Let them have the SEC and North. We can't let the church members know. The only thing I ain't going to let you know is what the pastors are doing personally in their lives. If they're whoring at themselves, I ain't going to tell you about that. That's got none of my business. But when it comes to the third angel's message and the racism factories that they're producing, And these guys, for years, the colonial masters are doing the same thing. I'm going to talk. I'm going to expose it. I'm not going to expose no pastor. You know, there's a pastor I know, you know, that disfellowshipped me. Man, the guy was the greatest womanizer. Even when he came to the church, me and another pastor was talking about it. That time I think I was working at the conference at the time. And we said, boy, if the church members know that what kind of man this is. And even my friend, you know, she's dead now. You know, he put his hand and squeezed her breast, and she gave him $1. She boxed him. Rightly so. And the church knew about it, but, you know, they loved him. You know, they loved him just like my friend. They loved him. We love evil more than we love good. We love wickedness but not righteousness. And don't get me wrong, we're all struggling. I'm struggling. You know what I mean? I ain't sleeping with no women, haven't never been faithful to the wife, but, you know, I got my own thing going on. Guys are watching porn. You know, sometimes I watch UFC. You know, what am I watching UFC for? So, you know, I got my own thing going on. You know what I mean? Women have put themselves out to me. I'm old, even though I'm old wrinkle up. You know, the young girl them thinks me have money, but I'm like, darling, by God's grace, you ain't catching me. But maybe, you know, a man put his hand on me at the road and, you know, I got a struggle. Like, I'm thinking to myself, boy, I should box it. And I'm just being honest with you. And I've been honest because I don't want nobody following me. Follow the truth for this time, the third angel's message. I'm signing out. I could tell you some more. All I need to tell you is that the merchantmen are the ones that are vaccinating you. Right? And do not get vaccinated. Don't let your pastor fool you and tell you for your neighbor. This vaccine is unsafe. Right? It's unsafe. You do not get vaccinated. If you plan to get vaccinated, wait 2-3 years and see how much people die. And if you want to go and get it, then be fool. Be the black fool around there and go and get it. But don't let your young people get vaccinated. I've seen loads of ministers telling you that they've been vaccinated and they're on Facebook showing their colours and saying they need to do it for the world. You're an idiot, right? You ain't even been tested. You know what I mean? 2000, I think it's 2000, maybe 2000. I say 2018. No. Maybe 2015 to 2019, there was 16,000 people died from vaccinations. 2021, I think it was, 4 months in, 4,000 people died from vaccinations. And we're just talking about America. They're unsafe. Don't listen to those pastors, especially at the TD. They don't like you anyway. You know, they don't like you. Right? And I'm not preaching separation. There's good ministers, white and black. Just as the guy hid the 50 prophets in the time of Elijah, God's got his people in the SEC, the BEC, the North England Conference. There's ministers up there that are fearing God. Majority of them, no, they're not fearing God. They just want to have boogie night. They want to listen to Earth, Wind and Fire and get the young people to feel up one another and have no standards within the church. But it's cool, I don't fight them. I keep my mouth shut. There's bigger fish to fry. I don't get myself involved in them arguments. But all I can say to you is that the Merchant Revelation 18 are the pharmaceutical companies. And you need to take a stand, research. If you're going to get vaccinated, that's your choice. It's a choice. It's not the mark of the beast. It's not the mark of Jesus, but it's leading to the plane of Jura. It is actually leading to the plane of Jura. And I'm warning you that those fires that were 7 times hotter, which parallel the plagues, right, are already starting to burn. They're starting to burn already, right? So I'm telling you, don't get yourself vaccinated. Don't get yourself. Don't trust the pastors and ministers, right? Don't do it. I'm begging you. Don't do it. Check it out first. The Merchantman Revelation 18, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the British royal family, and all those other people, the Clintons, the Bushes, they have planned it all out. This roadmap that Boris and Angela Merkel and all the rest of them are following, they know what's coming. It's all been 2012. It was all documented already. Don't do it. Children of God, for your own safety, even if you got vaccinated, okay, you done it. You didn't know, it wasn't your fault, you didn't know the information. God can work out things for you. Maybe you won't pass through the Sunday law crisis. Maybe you'll be happy that you did take it, because even me, I'm fearful to get to the Sunday law crisis. I don't know what side of the fence I'm going to be on, to be honest. I may be talking about the third angel's message and the early rain, the first and second angel's message, but I honestly don't know where I'm going to be, right? I don't know what side of the fence I'm going to be on. I pray that I'll be on the same fence that Hezekiah was. You know, so when Rabshak comes and said, you know, give me 200 men to ride the horses, that, listen, man, I can just look at him and think, you think we're weak? We trust the Lord. We trust the Lord of hosts, the same Lord that when the priests put their feet in the Jordan, that the water parted. Sign that, brethren, and I'm praying that any one of you in Adventism that see this, don't get turned off by my face and what they said about me. You know what I mean? I've been put out of the church. And I'm not lying. They disfellowshipped me because I was going to Adventist meetings. And then they put on me that I started some group. I never started no group. The group was there a long time ago. They put me out of Present Truth that became so-called Present Truth because the leader, they said I exposed him. You know, I shouldn't have told the church, I shouldn't have brought the statements which shows the guy's been on porn into lady boys, and you know, he's eating pork, he's drinking alcohol, and he's got his Listerine, you know, drinking every day a bit of Listerine to get rid of the smell. You know, they hated me that I exposed him, and the others that opposed me, God gave me truths about them, I exposed them too. They were upset. So basically, no one would touch me. I'm just telling you who I am. No one would touch me. You know, for my time, I was one of the movers and shakers in the publishing, and maybe I was one of the movers and shakers. There was nobody young at the time. Maybe there was nobody young like me. I was the youngest, and you know, we was last of the Mohicans, and most of the guys, you know, there was a guy called Joe Fenton. He was a great literature evangelist. You know, I could canvas better than him by far, but listen, man, he didn't even need to take a canvas out, man. He had it. He could wipe me and mop me up to the floor easy, man. And he taught me some good stuff. Taught me about people. My brother was a publishing man. You know, he taught me some good stuff, man. You know, the publishing directors didn't teach me nothing. All they were interested in was getting their money, just like the pastor, they're interested in their pension. They didn't tell me about the houses that they had. You know, so many of them had 2-3 houses getting money from them. Don't worry, trust the Lord. But I've learned, I've become an adult now. I learned that you're on your own in this fight here. If you find a friend like Jonathan, hold on to that friend. Because there's not many friends like Jonathan and David, man. And that is the true friendship. Jonathan was willing to go on the battlefield with his father. Even though he knew his father was wrong, he said, listen, man, I will not leave my father. Just as he was willing to die for David and give David his kingdom. These are the friends. You don't need the friends that they want you for what you got. And that's the most of the people. My dad used to tell me that most people just want you for what they can get from you. But remember, don't get vaccinated. Don't let your friend, don't get coerced because of your job. If they're going to sack you, let them sack you. Better you have life than death. I mean, for five more years, get yourself vaccinated, then you die, or you got some sickness, you're a customer for life. The pharmaceuticals are the best cause to effect. I mean, that's why, don't get me wrong, I've had to take some pharmaceutical drugs. I'm not telling you right, you know, I was in hospital the other day, man, you know, with a prostrate, and I had something wrong with my chest. There's something on my chest. They gave me some antibiotics. I ain't taken them in maybe 15, 20 years. I took them. I won't lie. You know, the health guys, most of them, the pastors, I've got them to turn like them, just they're in it for money, you know. Maybe you put one up, they want £300 for the day, plus you have to feed them, clothe them, and plus give them an offering. So you have to remortgage the house, basically. So don't get me wrong, there's some good publishing guys. I know some good there's some good health guys. I know in America, I know some wicked people that are into health. I remember one time there were some people that I helped and loved, and when the health man come, their plan was that the health man wouldn't help me, but the health man told me because it was my connect, and he explained to me, boy, these people just don't want you healed. And I told the girl, I told her straight, man, you want to kill me? You're gonna kill your father. And the father got better, but when she did that move on me, trust me, the father died. She sacrificed the father for what? Because this guy, the fish, that put seeds. Russell Hogarth Williams were putting seeds in these people's mind. I'm helping them. This guy ain't helping none of them. Yeah, but somehow he was just good. Because he knew the third angel's message. Everybody thought he was a prophet. I knew he wasn't a prophet. He just was skillful at the third. But anyway, let's sign out. And don't take the vaccine. Don't listen to pastor. Pastor tell you any rubbish. Don't take the vaccine. I love you, that's what I'm telling you. I am actually frightened of the Merch Generation 18. I am actually frightened of the government. I'm not frightened of the conference. Even though I know they would send a video up to the big boys and say, look, this is one of the guys we need to get rid of. I don't really care about them. Yeah, I'm frightened of the government, but I'm putting this out because I love you. And I've been sitting down for too long and saying nothing. I got material on the 3rd that I should be putting out a long time ago. I've just been sitting here writing, sketching. I could do a video a long time ago. I haven't preached in years, from 2017 when the guys ran me over and shot me up in the back alley and decapitated me. I just been building a little strength. Sickness has come to me, but I know that the Son of the Lord is coming. And I might sound like a broken record, but I've got to say the Son of the Lord is on the wings of time. And the wings of time is no more. Time is no more. The event's coming. That spiritual marker, right, of the physical marker is coming. And it's going to be a literal Sunday law. And it's in the climate bill. It's the hidden hand. The climate bill is the hidden hand of the Sunday law. So don't let them guys fool you, Jan Paulson and them. He's a Danite. Go check him out in Judges 19. His family were the same families that raped the woman. And they raped her in the parts where the sodomites want. They don't want what God made natural, right? And he can throw his sling from the left or the right. And he's a Danite. He's a blind guide. Ted Wilson is one of them too. Just like Falkenberg. Falkenberg worked with the Catholic Church. Our leaders are working with Rome. And this guy saying stuff about leadership. Leadership saying about themselves. They're going to Willow Creek. They're bringing all these books. They're bringing in this Jesuit theology. And you're sucking it up. You're there, thank you, Pastor. You're getting it. These little sermons that let Premier preach them, man. It's cool. Their time will come there and they got you fooled up about the unchurch. That, you must go and win the church. You can't win the unchurch. You're black. They don't like you. And even if they do like you, they don't want to sit in your church because it's a black minister there. And even the white minister will tell you they don't come to church because of you, but it's a lie. They can't even win them themselves. So how do they expect you to go and win the unchurch? When the time comes, you can win them. And the time is coming where a lot of unchurched people, indigenous people, are asking about these things. This is the opportunity. Not what they're telling you, get a cafe church and sell your children. Don't be fooled, get vaccinated. And Jesus would take it. Jesus wouldn't take it. He wouldn't take the vinegar. When Satan took him up on the cliff, he wouldn't even take that. Signing out. God bless. Take care. Watch your family. Pray for your family. Plan. Pray. And execute. Leave the city. Don't just rush up. Don't move like no fool. I know loads of them, they just run to Wales and they get somebody. There's no jobs in Wales. There's no jobs for blacks down there. Right? There's no jobs down there unless you got a trade. And you young people, get yourself a trade, because you ain't got a trade and you're in the corporations, you're going to be in lockdown and soon you won't have any money. The guys who are on the building site and they got the electrician, gas, or whatever they're doing, they got a trade, they'll have money. And if you can get yourself a little property, even though they're taking it back, if you can buy something mortgage free and you're out in the country and you've got somewhere to eat that food, you're going to live like a king in those days because God will hide you under his wings. God bless and take care.